Alright, let's do this one more time. This is Glorious Fortress, a Geometry Dash level I've been working on for... We don't talk about that. This right here is a video I made to show the building process. Yeah, it did pretty well, so here's another one. In 100 hours, we conquered the dark. Didn't get off to the strongest start, but with some time and effort, I pushed through. And with the sun fully risen, I went on my way. With 100 hours behind me, I picked up where I left off. A castle, a courtyard, and a mechanical forest. The places I went on this 200-hour trek. It's been a long road, but now it's time for the final climb. It's time for... Last time, we left off on this wave part. So before we get into the exciting stuff, let's finish that up first. You know, most of my ideas I get as I wake up from my dreams, as I wake up in the morning, are terrible, but occasionally I get a good one. I started on this block design that came to me in a dream. It's not quite there yet. So next thing, I filled in this base, trying to recall the design from my dreams. Which actually wasn't that hard, I just dreamed about copying this part. Not all dreams mean that much. By the end of day 1, I had something I was pretty happy with. Okay, yeah, it looks nice. We'll be adding more to this going forward. That's definitely the start. Day 1 done with 206 hours of work. On day 2, I added some more to this block design and made a wall in the background so transitioning into the next part would be a bit easier. After that, just copied around a few gears. I wanted to mix together a few of the earlier parts. The block palette of this spider, the nature in this forest, and the structuring in this wave. Thought I'd save myself some time and copy over these designs from the wave as well, but I'm not a fan. Delete. For most of the remaining day, I worked on foliage. I'm so environmentally minded. And then finally gave another crack at adding some details to these. Yeah, that's a lot better. Day 2 done with 3 more hours of work. Day 3, I just added some vines. Rock outlines carrying this level for real. But day 4 was the day of backgrounds. Not the biggest fan of this blank wall, so let's fix that. I started off with some shelves. Gotta have something to put all this stuff on. Guys, look, I'm being optimized. Planter boxes seemed to fit, so I made some brand new planter box designs. You don't have to fact check that. Tried copying them over here too, before realizing I'm not that cheap. That's better. Even got a watering can to keep them moist. Between days 3 and 4, that's 7 more hours of work. Day 5 was more of the same. I made this rake, a few shelves, and of course we can't forget the glorious garden cube for all your gardening needs. Day 5 done with 4.5 more hours of work. On day 6, I painted a happy little castle. This painting alludes to the encroaching fortress, and I think it looks pretty nice. Even with a bitrate of 12. Wish I could have done more, but I had places to be, so that's all I did day 6. That took me 3 hours of work. I also added this glow beam that moves up and down the screen. It adds a bit more atmosphere. Day 7 done with just 1 more hour of work. Day 8 was a group reusing stream. That's as bad of an idea as it sounds. Yeah, no, these are very out of order. The last one is 33, then it goes 172, then 173, then 98, then 100, then 97, 99. Huh? Why is it over there? Excuse me, you want to explain that one to me? And so its position is 5960.93 divided by 30. As long as I don't go above the integer limit, it probably won't crash. Then I decided to do that again, for God knows why. Why is it over there? Why is it over there now? It's not registering the triggers? Jed, the math teacher from Silent Ox lore. Mr. Gronker, true, I definitely should add Mr. Gronker. He's my favorite teacher. He could gronk me if you know what I mean. Days 8 and 9 took me a measly 15 hours of work. So in 2.2, the group limits being raised from 1,000 to 10,000, and oh my god, that is a godsend. I'm starting to think this might take a bit more than 300 hours. But with that all said, I'd call this wave done. There's just one more thing I want to do before the big climb. This level was originally supposed to take like 100 hours, and you can kinda see that in the first part. This feels a lot more bland compared to the others, so let's fix that. What I want to do this stream is not build the next part. I felt like this first part is kind of lacking compared to the later parts in this level. I felt like there's not enough going on in this first part. I had this little flag at the beginning. I might add a couple more of those here and there. Making the first checklist of this video, I got to work on sprucing this part up. The first thing I made were these puffy dandelions blowing in the wind. Looping the animations helped me save some groups. I think it's pretty obvious by now I kinda need to be saving those. Paired with some moving glow, these make it feel like there's a light breeze, setting the atmosphere for the rest of the level. The next thing to tackle were these giant stone walls. They could do with some more detail. Tried to get some variety in a few different designs, which I copied and pasted all around. Lastly, I wanted to get more of that fortress feel, and as I always say, that's the job for random spears. Altogether, that took me 4 hours of work. I think that's enough. This part didn't really need a ton, just those few things add a lot. And now, with the prep work completely done, it's time for... I want to make a background with a lot of parallax, but that means each layer has to be very few objects. Now there's no climb without a ground to start on. You heard me right, it's parallax time. The effect I have in mind has several layers of parallax, inspired by the backgrounds in Yoreed's levels. It'll take some time to make, but trust me, it's worth it. Oh, this is torture. This is genuine torture. Oh my god. If I could have just set that thing. I thought I set it to group parent. I could have sworn I set it to group parent. Huh? Why are you still there? I deleted you. Hello? Things got off to a bit of a rough start, but with a lot of trial and error, I got the effect working in the end. I love how big the part feels now. Yeah, I made the parallax go back really far. That's how this part was supposed to feel, and yeah, I pulled it off. This is definitely just the start. Like, I'm gonna add some bits here and there inside the grass. No, I'm proud of this. This looks really good. Day 11 done with 5 more hours of work. Jeez. On day 12, I started scattering some rocks around the ground. This is actually pretty hard to do when each layer has different groups and, well, layers, but coloring the layer I'm working on can help me keep track. Hold on, I just got a challenge. Beat Acheron in 1 attempt and you'll donate your heart. Alright, we're doing it. We're doing it. This is a memory level, so there's like a lot of fake blocks. So if I start to like clip through things, that's why. This is a really innovative part. It's kind of like invisible gameplay. It's for like most of the level. Okay, I think I'm good. I'm getting far, guys. 80%. Yes, let's go! I did it! I beat Acheron with no clip 13.84 accuracy. I'm literally as skilled as Space UK. Alright, enough distractions. The next thing I did was make this placeholder where a massive tower would be. Oh yeah, that's too big. It feels very towering though. Oh yeah, that feels towering. Later, after the stream, I took a crack at the tower design, but I'll come back to it later. Either way, that's the 12th day with 5 more hours of work. Damn. Day 13, I started from scratch. Really not sure what I was trying to do with the other design. And yeah, that is already so much better. You know what, that's actually looking pretty cool. It has a lot more depth than the old version. Oh yeah, that's such an improvement from this. Had to end off day 13 strong, so per Subpixel suggestion, and against my better judgment, I got to work on some 3D shadows. They help add some more depth. After a couple hours, I just wasn't really feeling it, so I started fresh. This was a bit more annoying to do, but I like it a lot better. Day 13 done with 8 more hours of work. Okay, this is getting absurd. Day 14. I explained a bit how I made this tower. So this is how I did that. I used these perspective lines. You guys are gonna be like, whoa, it's 4,500 objects, so unoptimized. Don't worry, this isn't gonna be in the finished level. So yeah. The next thing to work on were some side towers, since the center tower by itself looked kinda weird. These could definitely use some more color, but they help fill out the fortress a lot more. Put a bunch of tiny windows on them for a sense of scale. And with that, day 14 brought me to 4 more hours of work. This has been a lot, but you know what, I'm feeling good. I really don't think we'll make 300 hours, but 400 should do. How hard can that be? How many days? How many days has it been? This endless void knows no such thing as time. All it knows is fix shadows and watch Anthony Padilla. I'm not sure what happened. The last thing I remember, I made some towers. How many eons ago? Alright, let's see if I can piece this together. Towers, shadows, red shadows, red roofs. Red roofs. It was day 15. I wasn't happy with the plain gray roofs, so I changed them to a bright red. Let's see what's next. Yes, every roof needs a flag. If I recall, I was having a hard time animating them. Might have changed them, but that might have been later. This is what they looked like at the time. Next, I think I worked on shadows for a while. I just remember things got kind of complicated. Then I worked on shadows more. Was this the same day or the next one? Either way, the next thing I made was this wall connecting the towers. At this point, the fortress was really coming together. I remember I made some runes of some sort. No, that's not right. They looked more like this. I scattered these around the background. I'm sure that took a while. How many days was that? How many hours was that? I wasn't really happy with those runes. Mainly they just took too many objects. So I made some more optimized designs. This might have been when I reworked the flags. I remember I used a cool trick with move triggers, pausing the game and copying over these frames as references. This was taking a lot longer than I expected, but it was really coming along. With the main background pretty much figured out, I started to work on a mountainous far background. Oh, I remember. These mountains made the castle feel too small, so I just did what any reasonable person would do and made the castle move slower. Alright, you seeing the problem with this? That's right, I have to redo all the shadows now. I feel like any sane individual would just change the fortress back to its original speed. But to be honest, I wasn't super happy with the shadows already. And I'm also not sane. No, I will not get a Social Life Day Age Media 4851 make me. To make sure I got the shadows right, these take several hours to redo, I made this McDonald's looking abomination. It gets the job done. I think this was the next day. I worked on the mountains some more. I also added some sparkly bits to the fortress. Helps add more energy. Looks like an Instagram filter. It fits the music though. Then one of the last things I made were these clouds. And with that, the background was complete. Dude, this part's so sick. I even managed to keep it under 4,000 objects. The final thing I remember doing was making this background follow the camera vertically. I wanted to make something that automatically follows it, but that gave me way too many problems. So I spent several hours manually placing follow player Y triggers instead. Result speaks for itself though. And that brings me to where I am now. Just touching up some of the camera movement. Sorry I couldn't remember how many hours each day took. All in all though, it's been about 76 more hours since we last checked. 98 hours on the background in total. This might take me more than 400 hours. I don't know anymore. It just feels good to move on. I made some block design for this part. These look pretty cool. The ones that you go over are a darker gray, and then the ones that are solid are a lighter gray. These structures were the first thing I worked on day 23. Decided to keep the red roof thing going. Made this window. Yeah, it's a bit much. Changed up the design to something a lot simpler. That would do for day 23 with 2 more hours of work. Bit of a break day. Anyway, we're just doing block design because I finished the background. A cool thing I want to show you guys. I spent a long time, like, manually making it follow the camera Y, with, like, follow player Y triggers. It breaks sometimes in practice, but, like, it is what it is. But yeah, no, I spent forever, like, manually setting these out. Starting off day 24, I made myself a good old checklist. The layout has these single floating blocks, which I had a cool idea for. Got to work on the basic decoration. My idea for these things is that they'll be held up by rockets and propellers. How exciting. This propeller was giving me a bit of trouble though. Ended up using Adobe Illustrator of all things to get it right. Hey, you gotta get creative sometimes. Especially when you can't make art for shit. In the beginning, I had two different designs of these, a wood one and a metal one. I decided against the metal ones. This works a lot better with just one type. Yeah, these look really cool. A bit static, but we can fix that. First, hour check. About 6 more hours. Alright, time to give these things some motion. Wow, that's a lot of triggers. A lot of work must have gone into this. Let's see how it turned out. Oh, I love that pulse, dude. Snazzy. Yeah, this part's really coming together. But as cool as that looks, it took like 5 hours. I think that background just got me into a certain kind of mindset. And don't get me wrong, that has its place. But this was just getting ridiculous. So on day 26, I vowed to finish the rest of the part. The cube part, that is. I don't think I'm getting more than that. That's still a lot though. Started off with these fairy orbs. They add even more life to the part. And they also help tie in the orbs to the level so they're not just random floating things. Next, vines and plants. Just vines ended up being enough. Rock outlines coming in clutch again. After that, I got to work on a wind effect. I've made a good few of these, even just in this level. It's really just fast moving glow. Usually pair it with some motion lines. Yeah, this is coming together so good, dude. Oh man, I love this level. This is really coming together. And finally, I planted some flags to tie this in with the first part. It's been a little bit, so if you don't remember, I put flags there. And that would be it for day 26, with 3.5 more hours of work. Hey, I remembered how to not take forever. Let's move on to the next half, shall we? With this open cube completely done, I needed to figure out exactly what I was going to do with this spider and ship. Didn't have any better ideas, so I just made one big structure. This will be the first half of the spider. Tried connecting the top and bottom with some pillars, but I don't know, they could use some work. Either way, day 27 took me just 1.5 hours. Or maybe I do something a little bit less detailed with the pillars. Maybe make like thicker pillars and make less of them. That's probably good. They'll probably do that. And do that I did. It just felt a little cluttered before. Other than that, just finished the top structure. You don't even see most of it. Day 28 done, with just half an hour of work. Which brings me to a little development in our story. Oh, it's nothing much, just a little thing called Update 2.2. You see, if you're not familiar with this game, Geometry Dash 2.2 has been in the works for... well, I could make like 5 levels in that time. The game's 10th anniversary was on its way, and with the update coming close to completion, believe it or not, this left a lot of people wondering if August 13th was finally the day. I was a bit skeptical, but I couldn't know for sure. I wanted to get this level out before the update, but with 20 days until the anniversary, I was a little torn. Still, I kept going. No point in stopping now. This next half of the spider took some figuring out. Eventually I settled on this. It's not my favorite part, but it gets the job done. Day 29 over with 2 more hours of work and the 10th anniversary just 2 weeks away. On day 30 I started to make some arrows. Back in episode 2 I made these animated arrows in the sky and I wanted to make some more. Just copy and paste them? Heh, good one. That would be rational. For some reason I wanted to make these in a very specific way, but hey, they look cool. Explosive, I might say. These weren't at all quick to make, but I got them done eventually, and I'm excited to move on. Oh, I didn't make the arrows go high enough. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I'll deal with that later. Day 30 done with around 2 more hours of work. Days till the anniversary, 8. I fixed the arrows on day 91, wasn't actually that hard. Added some extra effects around them too. Glow and pulses go a long way. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying all 12 pixels of this. I'm a professional. Day 31 done with like 15 minutes of work. I think I was busy. Days till the anniversary, 7. On day 32, I added some small effects to fill the part with energy. I know there's already a lot of that, but these add even more. Sorry, still playing on a toaster, but I wanted to point out these spikes. Hitting the pads blows them up, making sure you can't skip anything. Day 32 done with 2 more hours of work. 6 days left till the anniversary. In the layout for this level, you're supposed to hold this dash orb out of the ship. To make the player do this, I started off day 33 building a great wall. But you can't have a wall without borders. Dude, what is this bit? This part of the level back here has these moving structures and swaying borders around the screen. And this is a callback to that. Helps tie the level together. Also, I started the next transition. You can see it's not quite finished. And that, my friends, would be the end of day 33, with 2.5 more hours of work. Days till the anniversary, 5. But this was my last day until then. It's time. I thought they thought it was like annoying.
What?
What? Oh my god! There is actually a release date! There is actually a fucking release date!
Release date!
Oh my god!
Oh,
Well, he's saying the words.
10 years, huh?
So, October. We don't know when in October, but October. It's August 13th. I have at minimum a month and 18 days. To be fair, this is RobTop. We'd be lucky to get it before the 31st. Also, there's a theory going around that it's on the 22nd, 2.2. It has some other evidence. But holy shit, I don't know when it's coming out. And sure, I've got a lot of progress. But especially with going back to college, that is a brutal time frame. But what do you do when you've come this far? That transition still needed some work. A lot of it, actually. So one day later, I got building. Extending up the background a bit lets me move the whole thing down. Extending it wasn't hard, but it took some time to get the movement right. Made a little glow orb to represent the player. It's not the best, but it works. I don't want to use more groups. I wanted to have clouds zooming past as the player flies up. Turns out the editor is really not that tall. I place the clouds horizontally and I have them rotate in the level. It was kinda painful to set up. Here's how that's looking. Snazzy. Next, I wanted to make it look like you break through the portal when you fly through it. It's pretty cool. Okay, maybe a little subtle. You know what? I did a lot. Maybe I can do this. Guess I just have to... Dude, did my game just crash? Well, it's fine. I might have lost a few minutes. I guess I'll just reopen the game. Hold on. It's not opening. Oh my god. Okay, it's fine. I'm sure I can fix this. Yep, that's right. At probably the worst possible time, I got to experience the fabled save corruption. I physically cannot open my game unless I delete my save file. Yes, that included the backup. That was corrupted too, and for you real big nerds, I have been informed of ways to fix this. Now, fortunately, I am paranoid. I make tons of hard backups of my save files, but the last one was from like a week ago. I also upload my levels unlisted every few hours. But that meant the entire transition was gone. Yeah, I can't lie. I wasn't feeling great. So was that it? All this work for nothing? The first 100 hours, watching the sun rise. Another 100 on top of that, through thick and thin, through the treacherous woods. And nearly 170 spent on this final climb. Looking ahead of me, for the first time, I didn't know if I could do it. A massive climb still ahead, and a crushed spirit to top it off. But then I remembered. I remembered one thing. I am unhinged. And so I got myself together, wrote a list of everything I needed to redo, called it good and went to bed. I reset my hours to what they were. Probably didn't need to do that, but hey, I was kind of a mess. Either way, that was around 4 hours of work. And on day 35, I redid the whole thing. A bit annoying, sure, but I'd been through it all before. Ended up getting this about where it was. At the end of the day, that took me about 3 hours to redo. There was some stuff where I wasn't really sure how I did it, but nothing ended up being too hard to figure out. And so yeah, that's it. With 375 hours behind me, I was ready for the final stretch. The sunrise, the forest, and the climb so far. With the summit ahead, I braced myself for what I had to do. And with that brings us to week 1. Still hadn't finished this transition right here. The background fades in for lag reasons, but I could make it look a little bit better. And yeah, no, that's a big improvement. Wanted to make it feel like your eyes are adjusting to the light. Did some good old group reusing, that was fun. Surely I won't have to do more. With everything else up to this point done, except for cool animation, I got started on the basic block design for the skybound robot. Ended up doing something pretty similar to this part, good to keep some consistency. I did add some bits unique to this part though. Yes, it's floating stone, shut up. There's not much yet, but it's a good start. I have a lot planned for these. Fun fact, this is actually day 100 across all 3 videos. Crazy that we made it this far. I added some more bits and bobs to the blocks. Also wanted these to be held up by rockets, so I copy-pasted the fire and its animation from the previous part. I'm being efficient. Had to reuse groups again, it was pretty annoying. It was worth it though, these spin now. Well, that took up the rest of week 1. Just give me 10,000 groups already, I have a problem. But with that done, week 1 brought me to 10 more hours of work. I'm sure I did a lot of stuff outside the editor. Week 2. With my groups assigned, I started to fine-tune the movement on these platforms. Changed the background color, just for now. Kinda hurt to stare at the old one for hours. And this is looking pretty good so far. Anyway, color's back to normal. I wanted to make a custom background, probably filled with clouds. Weirdly hard to get right, it took me a few tries. After a while, I landed on this one. Also made some clouds in front that zoom past really fast. The background needed a little bit more, so I built some bigger structures to float behind the player. This hot air balloon does look a little out of place. I might replace it later. To finish off the background, I made some simple castles. With all that together, the background feels a lot more complete. Added some more wind, because of course I did, and started to work on the wave. Here's that, by the way. Fun fact, these pillars use rainbow blocks because I felt like it. Finally replaced the hot air balloons. Looks a bit suspicious, but man, I don't have any better ideas. Week 2 done with 20 more hours of work. Whoops, past 400. Anyway, week 3. The most normal thing I did week 3 was make this little spinny thing. After that, things got a little weird. Because I'm a sane individual, this cool animation right here is supposed to be frame by frame 3D. Not sure what my plan was here, but it clearly wasn't working. But I don't give up easy, so eventually I figured something out. Man, so many out-of-editor hours. I'm really breaking my back for you guys. What did take in-editor hours was copying these frames to GD. A lot of them. 8 to be exact, and that is just scratching the surface. These hours do not reflect how long this took to do. Got an entire half-second of animation, though. That's pretty good. Week 4. With one part left, my journey was near its end. You've finally reached the top of the tower. What treasures await for you to claim? Oh, I know, it's this one. Trust me, getting the camera to move like this was a little annoying. And with all that done, all that was left was the transition into this part. Piles of rubble make it feel like you just crashed through the roof. Took a while to set all this up, but the transition's looking good. 37 more hours marked the end of week 4. So that's where I'm at. And sorry I haven't been streaming for a while. I just have not had any time. It's been a crazy couple months. But we're almost there. We are almost there. Oh god, I didn't mean to move that. I really just gotta finish up the end screen and then like a short bit at the end of the video. Arcdraws and Manorman, I'll put the name on screen. Arcdraws and one of his friends have been helping me with the end screen. Arcdraws drew most of this, and now I'm just tracing it. Kind of like Jonathan GD does with the end screens Mel's makes for his levels. So yeah. Well, it's been a long ride. End screen's done. I got a couple bugs to fix, but the level's basically finished. Let's get a final count on those hours. Holy shit. Okay, so better info seemed to mess up a little bit on this last bit. That's probably like 20 hours too high. I've done a lot of work outside the editor though, so it probably balances out. But either way, I can safely say this is over 500 hours. And you know what? That's kind of a lot.